Well, this KOINE News broadcast, KOINE, of course, KOINE, means common in the Greek New Testament, and of course news is because the K alliterates, so that's not actually anything there except just fun, enjoying myself. But what's KOINE all about? Well, we're trying to think outside the pyramid. And that's basically the joy that we have and responsibility we have once we've been delivered from that metaphor, Egypt, which is mentioned from the first book of the Bible to the last book of the Bible. So what does that mean? What would that look like? So I'll take just one topic, for example. I was reviewing a book called Free Will, The Scandal in Philosophy. You can download it in PDF for review and then send in feedback. I haven't done that part yet, but the scandal was alleged that they've written about a topic for centuries and have made little progress. Well, let's just look and see what might cause that. And for us as KOINE Christians, common believers of all things the Bible says, let's just come over here and let me get my colors straightened out so I can work this out. Let's just place free will. We'll put both of them up here. Some of you will run into people that have never heard of the two different kinds. We'll just kind of back up a little bit and see what comes next. And let's say this comes out of the word will. And of course, will comes from two words. One means intention, and the other means desire. But in your English, let's say the common KJV, the King James Version of the original Bible, doesn't always distinguish this. So when you talk to someone about it, they may not have thought that through or realize they've never thought about it. So let's just keep our arrows going this way as we grow somewhere. We're going somewhere, but I don't believe we're going anywhere fast that matters. So this is just free will here, and let's say this then is free agency. And let's say from go there, let's go to agent causation. Agent causation. Agent causation. And don't worry, we'll stop somewhere, because in the Hebrew Bible, all the way back to the old Bible, the Hiphil stem, let's just put that in parentheses over Hiphil, is a causative stem in the Hebrew language. And one command that Jehoshaphat was given to, or gave to the people, he said to them, he said, you, that's the understood subject, and he used Hiphil, cause to believe. And he was commanding the people to cause to believe the Lord and then cause to believe his prophets. Well, the understood here, you have the understood subject and an imperative, and in Hiphil now we have this second subject, not really yourself, that would be reflexive, but so let's say we started with our Bibles and we see God commanding one of his prophets, one of his leaders, to go out and preach, and then command the people. He said, you cause you to believe. And of course he was speaking to plural, so here where I'm from we would just say, you all cause you all to believe. But then let's go back and see just what KOINE does for us. Let's say over here under this one, let's move back over here and see just how great this is becoming. This would be libertarian version of free will. This would be the compatibilistic version. And of course this is you'll find this free agency mentioned in a very popular confession, the New Hampshire Confession, 1833. It mentions agency. We'll inform you that John Locke, someone very instrumental in the founding of our nation, said that the term free will was unintelligible because the adjective free was attached to will. Of course, he said the agent is the one free, not a will or something like that, which that's something, and again, way out there. But immediately once you study this in Hebrew, you find that philosophy has something called agent causation, which libertarian and compatible, or even libertarian free will are uncomfortable with this. But just to show you what's koine all about is, well, if we went by what the text said in the original Bible, what a common Christian would do is go back and just see what this is about. Well, this makes the command very important. It's the context, if you will. We'd say it's what catalyzes anyone who would do this. And it also shows that the individual is commanded to cause her or himself to believe. So we leave that. So let's say we leave that, as often we have. We go to agent causation, we leave it to go to free agency, we leave it to go to free will, which isn't, we attach free, the person you're arguing with will have already attached free to this without distinguishing which term they are referring to. So it's already a very vague and ambiguous, well, it's just ambiguous. So then, before we define that term, we move into these two arguments. Now, what's really regrettable is how many people are invited to participate in these types of arguments. And I've got to erase this to continue the point, to show you just what koine is all about. When someone's called out, as we are, we've been called out, and that's what the word church in English, when you go back to the original, refers to out-called, and the individual's called out. We severed our ties, but notice this depiction. This is what we're looking at. Let's say here's the text, and let's say there's little or no argument here. And then by the time we travel through this journey, let me just move my little smiley face here. Let's say there's little or no, there's all agreement. We all agree with that text, 2 Chronicles 20 verse 20, for example. We all agree that the Hebrew can be known. You can look it up and you can see the imperative mode. You can see it's hifil, which is causative. You can see it's causative active, and you can see that the subject is being commanded. Well, we're all happy there. Well, let's just draw our smiley faces and let's keep going. And they're getting bigger because it'll show that there's more people involved. By the time you get out here, there seems to be something very strange going on out here, and it's this kind of stuff, and it's frowns and mean looks and people with stern faces, and sometimes they're just perplexed because you get farther and farther away from the text, that is Christians. They get out here and all this stuff becomes unknown and questionable, and like I said, philosophers write for centuries about it and make little progress and then sell you more books, which is fine for philosophy. It's fine for those who teach metaphysics and philosophy courses, and it's wonderful. But what about Christians? What do we do? Well, if we leave all this, but this is where you'll find most people. They're out here somewhere. But this is, if you think about the common nature of the call of Christ and the people that he came to, this is the population out from which he calls us. He calls us to come out, calls us out. And anyone that's a member of a church, a called out body, that is a literal church being in an out called body, being in a particular place, like the common text says, this isn't where the teachings of Christ are adhered, where the commandments of God are upheld, defended, promoted, advanced. It's out here. And when you come out here, this is where you'll find Jesus as a king. You'll find his kingship, which is an extension of the king, his kingdom. You'll find the text, all these Christians are happy and agreeing, and we couldn't find anything better to live by than the text. But you'll run into people where you'll start with them is somewhere out here. And again, just give you an illustration, as I like to say that there's someone behind it. I don't mean it's the people involved. I mean it's the word devil, for example. It's a functional word. It's from diabolos, dia, two or double. I like to say double. And then of course bolos means cast. So we have a double caster, and that's how I'd like to depict him. So when you try to understand something, he does a double take, and before it's over with, you're far out here with something, a phrase, and your neighbor's angry with you because he overheard you say something about free will, or you didn't say enough about it, or he found out you were a libertarian free willer and he was a compatibilistic free willer. This is what people prefer. They prefer this endless, whatever you want to call this. It goes nowhere. They sure don't want someone to walk up and say, "Where'd you get the phrase free will in the first place?" Because if you can ask that kind of question, it'll depend upon, well, what do you mean? Do you mean boule, or do you mean thelema? Now they're not happy with you, of course, because they don't know what they mean. And then you'll say, "Are you talking about free agency? Would you mind if I say free agency?" Because they won't allow you to do that. When I'm around religious people and I say free agency, that's not good enough. They want you to say free will. And if you do ask them these questions, "Hey, what do you mean? May we define our terms?" That's where, when you question this, in order to understand this, to define this, if you try to define it, you'll get one of those, it won't be a happy face. And if you question it, all you'll get is a person who pretends to be perplexed. And sometimes you'll run across someone who actually wants to know what the Bible says, rather than these philosophies. And free agency here, there's that philosophy I was telling you, agent causation. And of course, back to the Hebrew Bible, and I went back all the way back there because it's older than obviously much older than the New Testament. So that would be an example of, but who's behind taking this and dividing this, and look how many people are there. I mean, compared to the people over here, let's just say a percentage. I'll just go ahead, just for sake of exaggerating my point, but 99% of the people are here, and only 1% of the people are here. And this is all division. This is all divisive. People say horrible things about each other over here, and over here everyone's happy and smiling. So this is what KOINE is all about, bringing people back to the text, or calling them to come out for the very first time to the text. And we would rather live by that text rather than all this talk. But again, this generates a lot more economy for Egypt, I would say. And in metaphor, that's as kind as I can be. But who takes these things and does double takes, and splits this up? He's very mentally clever. And the word devil, whether you accept him as a person or a thing or power, the function is to duplicate or double cast. And he's very good at dividing